Hello, class 9 boys and girls. Today we are going to start a new chapter, chapter 3, Electoral Politics in India. What is electoral politics? In a democracy, people do not govern directly. They govern through the elected representatives. Governing through elected representatives is the most common form of democracy. Electoral politics is all about understanding election of representatives, need of election, and how to make election democratic. It also involves examining the role of the Election Commission in ensuring free and fair elections. Electoral systems are the detailed constitutional arrangement and voting systems that convert the vote into a political decisions. The first step is to tally the votes, for which various vote counting system and ballot types are used. Voting system then determine the result on the basis of the tally. So, what do we mean by electoral politics? In simple terms, it means that Ramadan puin waya mi puin kan ai o kan khan te hi kan khang ma kan khan te kha electoral politics ma kan khan te kha khanga a system kha electoral politics ti na ni. Then why are elections necessary? Firstly, we have majority. The government of a country is formed by the members of a party or coalition of parties that secured majority in the parliament comprising elected representatives of the people. Secondly, specific period. They usually form a certain specific period to rule the country on behalf of the people. This period is called its term or tenure. Thirdly, it is the government of the people. After one time of the government is over, parliament and state legislatives assemblies are dissolved and elections are held again. Elections provide people an opportunity to perform their democratic functions, that of choosing their own government. Fourthly, power of the people. It is through elections that people assert their right to be the supreme source of power in the country by choosing their government. Fifthly, elections are essential because it is not possible for all the people to meet at a particular place and take decisions. Sixthly, delegation of power. By electing their representatives to the legislature, people actually delegate their power to take decisions of those representatives who ruled on their behalf. Seventh, representative legislature. Since the elected representatives rules on behalf of the people, it is imperative that the legislature must properly represent all the people and adapt itself to change. 8. The government consisted of the elected representative members of the party or alliances of the party that had attained a majority in the elections. I will give you a clear summary on that in a first language. That's one. Enga tingi election to appoint mo enga tingi kan ngai kan ti chuan majority at one sarkar to party pakhat emo party pani inzom vote mutam berin an siam china anlal hun chung le hun bi te kha a oma mipui sarkar mipui kan chwate anni ni athang tun mipui te kuta chuan anlal hun chung chu vote mangin a in nga thui hle meya in khan hun hi mipui ten du kan khan na le thuthuk na kan siam na hun ani a anlal thei hun chung te le thuthuk na kan siam ma khan ke mani vote a in na se em ni kan khan chwa te chu mipui thang tu zong zong te ai o tur an di bok ani. Features of democratic elections. Electoral limits. According to these limits, candidates have to meet criteria relating to relationship, residence, and age. Firstly, the non-citizens cannot be a contesting candidate in the election. Secondly, minimum age for any person to contest in the elections to the Lok Sabha or State Legislative Assembly shall be 25 years. A candidate must be registered as voters in any parliamentary constituencies. Regarding citizenship and residence, similar standards have been set for voters. Besides, they can exercise their voting right through universal adult franchise only after attaining a certain age, candidate selection, conventions. In democratic countries, political parties use certain conventions to select candidates for election. Its objective is to choose the most suitable candidate who can give the party an edge over its opponents. Secondly, commitment of the candidates. In course of selection of candidates for parliamentary or state assembly elections, political party generally takes into the person's commitment to promoting to the interests of the party. Public interaction. Firstly, campaigning. They can interact with the voters and discuss their views on the government. Secondly, speeches. They can deliver speeches expressing their views on the plans and policies of the current government. Thirdly, debates. They can take part in political debates and answer questions about their records in front of the audience. Media use. They can use print, radio, television, and internet advertisement to interact with the public before. The process of balloting. Firstly, integrity and privacy. It protects the integrity of elections along with the privacy of the voters. Secondly, uniform ballots. They use a uniform ballot printed by the government. Thirdly, one person, one vote. Fourthly, anonymity. It means that the voter place their ballots in ballot boxes that are not open until the voting has ended. Fifthly, electronic voting machines, EVMs. Voters cast their votes by pressing a button on the EVM against the candidate and symbol of the choice. Suffrage. Suffrage is the right to vote in an election, especially to vote for representatives in the government. Citizens become eligible to vote at the particular age, which usually varies between 16 and 21, depending on the country. Where universal suffrage exists, the right to vote is not restricted by gender, race, social status, or wealth. Scheduling. In a democratic country, general elections for the union and state legislatures are regularly held after a certain period of time. The General Election Commission puts into effect the machinery for holding an election. In a vast country such as India, general elections can be held in different phases within a period of few months. Competitive spirit. Each party prepares a list of candidates who are going to contest from the various constituencies into which the country is divided. If a candidate wins, she gets a chance to fulfill the promises he or she made to the people. The competitive nature of democratic elections have the people's representative work hard, thereby proving beneficial for the common people. Elections in India. In India, elections are held every after 5 years. If it dissolves even before the completion of its term of 5 years, elections are held to constitute a new legislature called mid-term elections. If a candidate who has been elected for a particular constituency resigns or dies after or before completing his or her terms, elections are held only in that constituencies. Such elections are known as by-elections. Constituencies. Firstly, we have the country is divided into small areas known as constituencies, where they can elect one representatives from their area. Secondly, there are 543 constituencies across the country. Members of the parliament are called MPs, and elections are held at the state level also. The maximum and minimum number of constituencies of the state can be divided into 560 respectively. Members of the Legislative Assembly of the state are known as MLAs. For the functioning of the government at the local level, towns, cities and villages are divided into wards. Reservation of seats. The Constitution of India has granted all the people the right to vote and elect their representatives. two groups of people who are given special privileges are the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes. 79 seats have been reserved for the scheduled castes and 41 for the scheduled tribes in India. Seats are reserved for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in local bodies as well. Besides, seats are also reserved for the other backward classes in local body seats. Women have also reservation. In India, 33% of seats have been reserved for women in local government. Electoral roll. The electoral roll is the list that contains name of the voters. It is also called voters list. We follow the practice of universal adult franchise, through which no discrimination can take place against people on the basis of religion, race, caste, and gender. People who are of unsound mind and those who have been convicted for an offense are not allowed to vote. The voter list is revised every 5 years. The Election Commission now issued a voter identity card called election photo identity card to every voters. This card aims to prevent impersonation of voters. Impersonation means the act of pretending to be someone else in order to trick people. Nominations of candidates. People are free to contest elections in India. To contest elections, a person must fulfill certain qualifications. Firstly, she must be the citizen of India and must be 25 years of age to contest elections to the Lok Sabha or Legislative Assembly. Secondly, to be a member of Rajya Sabha, he or she must be a person who has attained 30 years of age. Thirdly, she or he must not be of unsound mind or an undischarged insolvent and must not have criminal or corrupt background. The campaign. The objectives of a political party is to win elections. Campaigning takes place for 2 weeks and campaigns of every political party are regulated, so there are guidelines that need to be followed during election campaigns. Candidates cannot bribe people to vote for them. They cannot appeal to people in the name of religion or caste. Contesting elections have to follow a code of conduct evolved by the Election Commission of India. Government vehicles, aircrafts, and officials cannot be used for campaigning. No election propaganda can be carried out at a place of worship. Ministers are not permitted to lay foundations of any project, declared major policies, or make promises to provide any public facility. If a candidate fails to follow these rules, his election can be set aside by the court. The final stage of elections. On the day of elections, voters go to assigned areas or polling booths and cast their votes. Usually the polling booth is located either at the hall or a government offices. The voter has the right to show the identity proof to the election officials. A mark was printed with an indelible ink that is put on a finger. An agent of every political party is present at the polling booth. Electronic voting machines are used. People have to simply press the button against the name of the candidates of their choice. All the electronic voting machines are sealed. On the fixed date, the seals are broken and counting takes place. The candidate with the largest number of votes is declared elected by the returning officer. Functions of the ECI, Election Commissions of India. Some major functions are: they are responsible for elections. They issue model mode of conduct that has to be followed by every political party. The government also has to abide by certain norms to prevent parties from misusing government power. The Election Commission needs staff to conduct elections in different constituencies. Government officers are therefore put on election duty. The Election Commission has over the years functioned with a sense of responsibility. Repolls have been held in constituencies where incidents of rigging and booth capturing takes place. Stern measures adopted by the Election Commissions have proved effectively.